You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
The Dre Area Sports Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. And we are also brought to you by Taryn Roy, the SEO Optimizer. If you're looking to boost your YouTube channel, then check out the SEO Optimizer. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to start your free trial today. Power Brand Systems. If you're looking to build a website for your small business or YouTube channel, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase at Power Brand Systems.
And today, I am joined by my good friend, Mr. Drew Forder. Drew, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, what a series already. I mean, but first of all, before we start, man, I got to ask you, what is a wax seal? I need to know. What is a wax seal?
A wax seal is what you put on the outside of an envelope to seal it.
Okay. Because I'm listening to the ad. I'm like, I never heard that before. I might go on and do the promo code now. I'm like, okay, how can I make one of my girlfriends happy? Maybe I can use a wax seal.
A wax seal in multiple different ways. I mean, I'm sure there's more ways to take advantage of a wax seal, but I'll leave that up to you. But we're talking about the Golden State Warriors, and last night the Warriors beat the T-Wolves 99-88 to take Game 1. Buddy Hield. I mean, this guy, 24 points. He had 5 threes that he hit, and the guy wasn't hitting anything. He was 0 for 8 in the first quarter. And he only had 2 points off of 2 free throws. And then he comes alive in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. I thought he played a great game. Jimmy Butler nearly had a triple-double. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds. And the guy was everywhere. And on top of that, I think just the masterclass was Draymond Green. I mean, He understood with Curry out of the game. He played 34 minutes. Draymond had 18 points. He had 4 threes. He had 8 rebounds, 6 assists. And on top of that, Draymond Green is only the 15th player in NBA history to get 1,000 career NBA playoff assists. That is incredible. Can you imagine, you're like, yeah, I have 1,000 assists just in the playoffs. Like,
what a performance. What a performance. What a career.
Absolutely.
You got to watch your spelling there, buddy. Golden Stat Warriors.
Oh, Golden Stat. Look at that. Let's get the engineering team on that right now.
They do have the golden stats, just like you were mentioning. But, going back to Buddy Hield, man, the Warriors do not get to this series without Buddy Hield. We can go back. The last time we spoke was at the before Game 5.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know what happened in Game 5. We know what happened in Game 6 of that Houston series disaster, right? They get to a Game 7, and Buddy Hield, the Buddy Hield game, the guy has a first half of a lifetime, 22 points. He hits that half-court shot at the end of the first quarter, and he set the tone in Game 7. Steph did not have a great game in Game 7. I know he was great in the fourth quarter, but, and I know he facilitated, but Buddy Hield, man. And then let's talk about Buddy Hield, his defense, what he has been doing. And I know that in the post game, him and Jimmy, they talk about, Jimmy makes fun of him and he talks about his defense. Buddy Hield, man, he has been stepping up on both sides of the floor. He, had a great game, 24 points yesterday. Again, it's incredible what he's doing. And every time they need a big shot. Yesterday, it got close in the fourth quarter because, no Curry. The T-Wolves started to find their rhythm a little bit. And Buddy Hield hits 2 huge threes in the fourth quarter to get them right back on track. And we're going to talk about this during the show, how it's going to be very difficult for them now without Curry. But knowing that we have Buddy Hield as almost a replacement to Klay Thompson, I never thought I would say that.
I know.
We've got a chance.
They have a chance. And without Stephen Curry, okay, so that's probably what we should be talking about first. So let me pull this up so everyone who doesn't know is now tuned into what we're talking about. So Steph Curry, this is through the Golden State Warriors, who exited last night's game. He has a grade 1 hamstring strain. Curry will be reevaluated in 1 week, which means that he will be out for 1 full week. in the NBA playoffs. So, which means that he may not be available until Game 5. That is a huge advantage for Minnesota. And you have to believe at this point, okay, their game plan going into this game is, hey, look, we can do all we want to try and stop Jimmy Butler, but what they have to do is stop Buddy Hield. Jimmy cannot have any help from Buddy Hield. And we've seen teams like the Rockets do a fantastic job at running him off the line and making him have to drive the ball, which he's not all that great at. He can finish at times, but he's not the best at driving to the hoop. So going into game 2, I see them putting a guy like Dante DiVincenzo all over him and just kind of just sticking him like glue so that he can't get those wide open threes. That's going to make them. That's going to hurt the Timberwolves. Drew, how do you see them? Making an adjustment now that Steph Curry is not going to be on the court.
Well, Dre, you make some great points there, and honestly, I go back to Steve Kerr. Because I always bring everything back to Steve Kerr. I know Steve Kerr gets a bad reputation sometimes in the Bay Area. I know, you listen to talk shows and people they're asking for Steve Kerr to be fired, and I just think it's awesome.
No, you don't fire him. You don't fire Kyle Shanahan. You don't fire Steve Kerr. These are winning coaches.
I mean, I was mad when the Giants let Bruce Bochy go, I know. And that was because of that idiot Farhan. But
because Bruce Bochy didn't want to do this anymore. But then he's in Texas and he wins a World Series.
And look what happened. We hired that stupid pretty boy, and we had one winning season in 5 years, and now we're finally getting back on track. But anyways, that's the next segment. I go back to Steve Kerr because I've been watching this team all year. I've been on a few road trips with the team.
Yeah,
Steve Kerr has prepared Brandon Podziemski and Pat Spencer. I never thought I would say this, dude. He has prepared Brandon Podziemski, especially getting him in the starting lineup, and Pat Spencer as guys that can come in. And I'm going to make a proclamation on the show today that I know may get some, may make some headlines. I think they're a better defensive team without Curry on the floor. I really do.
Are. They absolutely are.
I think they are, and I think.
I'm just gonna have his face up there. I fucking love Pat Spencer. I swear to God.
Pat Spencer, dude, like that guy, he plays with a fire. Like, look what he did in Game 5 of the first round. He freaking headbutted Alperen Şengün. I mean, like how many people in the Bay Area wanted to headbutt that motherfucker? Like Pat Spencer did it. Like he stood up to that team. And then he comes in, and yesterday he brings energy. I know not a lot of scoring, but he kept the team together in the second half. He really helps with those extra minutes so that they can take the ball out of Butler's hands, out of Hield's hands, so he can support, bringing the ball up the floor. Draymond also. So I think the fact that we got Podziemski, we got Pat Spencer, and then we've got guys like GP2, we've got obviously Buddy Hield, and we've got other guys like Kaminga, who played some minutes yesterday, some meaningful minutes. These guys are seasoned now. They've had opportunities to play. And this is not the first time that Steph Curry has missed time in the playoffs. You and I both know. You go back to 2022. He was hurt at the beginning of that playoff run. When they went into that Denver series, he missed the first few games. If you go back all the way to 2016, which is a long time ago, but that was the 73-win season, Steph Curry, he gets hurt in the first round against the Houston Rockets. People forget this. He missed 4 games. He doesn't come back until even 5 games. He didn't come back until like Game 4 of the Portland series. Remember the game where they went to overtime and he was like, I'm back. This is not the first time. It's not uncharted territory for Steph Curry. It's not uncharted territory for Steve Kerr. So I think that they are equipped, and all they have to do, in my mind, is win 1 out of the next 3 games.
Yeah.
If they win 1 out of the next 3 games, if it's probably not going to be tomorrow. I mean, you and I both know it's going to be tough tomorrow. Game 2. Anthony Edwards is going to come out with fury after his coach called him out.
His coach called him out. I couldn't believe he did that. I was like, bro, you called out your star player?
Chris Finch basically said that Anthony Edwards did not come out with the necessary effort and energy for them to win the game. And then if you watch the post game, Anthony Edwards was sitting there with Reid and Julius Randle, and he actually laughed it out. He laughed. And that actually makes me feel even more hopeful about this series because you would never ever see Jordan, LeBron, even Steph, anybody laughing after a loss like that. This dude was up there laughing like, shit.
He's overconfident.
Sometimes we miss shots. Well, no, you were nervous out there, bro. Like he was nervous. He was nervous, smoking layups.
Well, and plus he was surrounded by greatness. He was surrounded by experienced veteran players like Draymond Green, like Jimmy Butler, like Stephen Curry, and I feel like that sort of got to him a little bit because he's like, I'm on the court with guys who are proven, not only superstars but NBA champions. I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler hasn't won an NBA Finals, but he's been that guy for the Miami Heat for a number of years. And I think that with the audience, the crowd reacting to every time Jimmy touched the ball, it just created an uncomfortable atmosphere for a guy like Anthony Edwards who comes across as like, hey, I don't give a shit who you are. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But he couldn't even hit layups. And some people would say, oh, well, I think it was the 6 days being off that sort of made them rusty. And that could be the case, but in basketball, it's a little bit different. In basketball, the more rest, the better. In football, your timing could be off because you have timing with the quarterback and the receivers and the tight ends and your offensive line, defensive line. And in baseball, the more rest you have in baseball, the more you're just standing around like, oh, what are we doing here? Baseball is all about momentum. But in basketball, it feels like if you get more rest, that's even better because then all your ailments, you give them more time for your knees, your hamstrings, your muscles to kind of recuperate. Now, I think that there was a bit of pressure against Minnesota, and I think that they were kind of faltering to the pressure. I think that guys like Reid, who usually haunt the Warriors, he was having a tough time early on. He hurt himself. He came back. Some people were like, oh, he hurt his hamstring. The guy flew into a chair and hit it right on the back of his leg. So, yeah, he had to leave because he was like, oh, my God. It's like the worst kind of Charlie horse there is. But when you look at what the Warriors did, defensively, the Warriors clamped down on the Wolves the entire game. It wasn't as if the Warriors played good defense for different spurts of the game. No, they were playing good defense the entire game. They were intercepting passes, batting down passes, blocking shots. Draymond Green ended the game with 2 blocks. Jimmy Butler had 2 blocks, and Buddy Hield had a block. The other interesting thing is this. When you look at the starting 5 for Golden State, right? I include Steph Curry because he was in there for at least almost 13 minutes. Other than Draymond, who had 5 fouls, because, I mean, look, the guy's covering the interior of the court. The rest of the starting 5 only had 1 foul. Jimmy Butler, 0 fouls. Buddy Hield, 0 fouls. So, again, Brandon Podziemski, 1 foul. And that's it. He only had 3 points, so he's got to step it up. But still, they were not committing the stupid fouls that the T-Wolves were probably hoping that they would do and putting them on the line. And on top of that, when it comes to rebounding, Jimmy Butler had 11 rebounds, 7 of which were offensive rebounds. Buddy Hield had 8 rebounds, 4 of which were offensive rebounds. Where is he? Kevon Looney had 6 rebounds, 2 of them were offensive rebounds. So they were creaming them on the boards. Gary Payton had 2 offensive rebounds, 5 rebounds total. So they were crashing the boards. And I really feel like in that first quarter, I would say more than halfway through the first quarter, I feel like Golden State sort of realized individually, internally, they were saying, oh, these guys aren't as good defensively as the Houston Rockets. I mean, when we saw the Warriors take on the Rockets were playing just suffocating defense. I mean, how many times do we see the Warriors try to make a pass and they get batted away in a turnover? Or drive in the middle and try to kick out, and that pass gets intercepted by a Rocket, or just gets hit by one of their arms, or get their shot blocked. The defensive prowess that the Houston Rockets had the entire series had a major impact on the Golden State Warriors offense. But when you look at what the Timberwolves are doing, it's nowhere near the level and the sophistication that the Rockets were injecting into the game every single quarter in every single game. What did you think about the Timberwolves version of defense?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the Rockets were literally suffocating us for that entire series.
God.
Even game 1, which we won, by 10 points. I mean, it was touch and go the whole game. And I think what made the Rockets so difficult, and we saw this in game 6, even if the Warriors were scoring, like they were making enough shots, and I know they didn't make enough shots in Game 7, but throughout that series, Van Vliet was he was hot. Dylan Brooks was pretty hot from the field. Şengün obviously was doing his little travel and his little thing and his little dance and all that, but Jabari Smith Jr. I think the Rockets are a much more polished team than the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I think
really believe that, and I think what we're going to see moving forward in this series is that the Golden State Warriors are a better overall team than the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've been together longer. I think they know how to play well together. I think they have a better bench other than Dante DiVincenzo. And I really believe that the Warriors are a better team. And now that Curry is out, it's going to provide more opportunities for others to come in and make more of a presence defensively. I thought last night the Timberwolves were awful defensively. I thought the Warriors got whatever they wanted. I know they only scored 99 points, and so if you're looking at it statistically, it wasn't like a dominant defensive performance. But I thought the Warriors had more opportunities even than they took advantage of. And Draymond Green, dude, we gotta talk about Draymond Green.
Absolutely incredible.
What he did offensively last night was spectacular. That Draymond Green, I believe right now, is playing the best basketball that he's played in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
I have never seen him so aggressive offensively. I've never seen him so confident with his floater, especially in the middle of the lane. Mm-hmm. And what he did in Game 7 defensively, and what he's doing to Rudy Gobert in this series. I mean, the Warriors have a real chance to be up 3-1 in this series. And I think at worst case scenario, we're going to be tied 2-2 going into Game 5. I really believe that.
Well, and if you're Minnesota, you have to be telling yourself, we cannot be tied 2-2 by Game 5. We have to be up 3-1. But it all depends on if the other players on the Warriors are going to step up. Steve Kerr did what he did earlier in the season, where like at the end of the first quarter, 10 guys had already played on the court. So he's going deeper into his bench. And I think the Timberwolves weren't really ready for that. I think they weren't ready to see all these different players taking the court. So that was in effect. Now, I think that if you want to get another win, I think you have to do the same thing for the next few games. Start emptying the bench and using everybody and showing off the depth that you have on this team. Because Pat Spencer, God, that guy came in like a lightning rod. He hit a sky hook like he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's
not scared.
No, he's not. The guy was the best lacrosse player in the country, or if not the world. So this guy is very confident, very athletic, and he's a competitor. And so when he's out there, you can see that he's constantly thinking about what's going on. The guy's really good. I really love Pat Spencer.
Great player.
So another thing too is that we talked about how Anthony Edwards ended the game with 23 points. He shot 9 for 22. He was 1 for 5 in threes. He was a total of -4, his plus minus.
Yeah, not good enough.
And people were saying, he just had a rough game. He had a rough shooting night. The Warriors' defense made him have a rough night. They were in his face. They were double teaming him. They were forcing him towards the hoop and not letting him get that easy shot. Whenever he drove the ball, they would collapse on him so hard that he was having to kick the ball way out to get rid of the ball before he go out of bounds. In fact, we saw this again in the previous series. Everyone kept saying, well, he just had a rough series. He's young. Jalen Green. The Warriors took Jalen Green out of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So there was this meme that I wanted to share with you, which is this is what he became last night, which is Jalen Green with Anthony Edwards' face.
Dude, that is an ugly dude. Hey, bro, listen, I want to. That's funny. I want to say something else that I think shouldn't go unnoticed. I really believe that the Lakers were overrated. I really do, and I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Like honestly, the Lakers.
Here's the other one too. This was Anthony Edwards last night. He turned into Bronny James.
Come on, man. I'm trying to make a point here.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so the Los Angeles Lakers were, to me, a horrible basketball team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know they were the 3 seed, but they had no cohesiveness whatsoever, especially after that Luka trade. Like defensively, they sucked. Like they were not very good. Like they had a few guys that could D up, like Dorian Finney-Smith, but Luka Doncic, the Marshmallow Man, I call him. Like that guy can't defend. That guy couldn't defend. A sixth grader, and I think the Lakers were extremely overrated. So what the Timberwolves did to the Lakers, to me, was not that impressive. Like I was not that impressed. And then Game 5, the Timberwolves were awful. If you go back and watch that game against the Lakers, they were like 3 for 27 or something from 3-point range. So like seriously, bro, I'm just saying the Lakers were underrated. The Lakers were totally overrated. So
overrated
for me. When the Timberwolves are now they're playing the Warriors, they were not ready. They were not ready for our physicality, for the way that we are cohesive when it comes to defense, to the way we move the ball. I mean, you go back and watch the first quarter. Yeah, I know, Jess. I don't like the Lakers. I'm happy about it too.
Yeah, I don't like them either.
The Lakers are gone. The Clippers are gone. I sleep well at night because of that. Like seriously, when you go back and watch the first quarter of the game last night, the Warriors, that ball was zipping around in the first.
Oh,
quarter.
yeah.
And they were not like it was just like another regular season game for them, the way they were playing. So I don't think the Timberwolves are ready. Now, having said that, the Timberwolves are going to come out. They're going to come out with a lot more energy tomorrow night. Oh, yeah. They're going to come out with a lot more physicality. And dude, they're probably going to win the game. I'd be shocked if the Warriors win tomorrow. But what the Warriors have done again, like they did last series, they have set the tone. And they have shown already early on in this series, like you just said, they can take a young player out of a series.
Yeah, no, I mean, they definitely limited and slowed down Anthony Edwards, who's, he's a superstar. The guy's one of the best players in the league, and he was having a tough time even getting going to the point where his head coach literally called him out. Now, I get what the coach was saying. That, like, look, even if your shot isn't falling, you have to find ways to incorporate your other players. Draw the double team or stay off to the corner, stay out, way out by half court, draw the defenders, make it a 4-on-4 game, do things to help your team find success. And he felt like he didn't do that. I thought it was a little weird that he called him out, probably because Ant-Man is so outspoken. He felt like, you know what, I'm going to call him out, then he'll have to fucking react to it, as opposed to me just telling him in the background. He'll be like, yeah, whatever, dude, shut up. So I think the Warriors defense played a big part of that. Another thing I wanted to say was that I thought, though he only played 13 minutes, I thought Jonathan Kaminga did an amazing job with his on-ball defense against Anthony Edwards. Because when you look at what Kerr can do, right? Yeah. Kerr has the option of throwing Moses Moody, Gary Payton, Jonathan Kaminga, and Jimmy Butler on Anthony Edwards. And that's a problem because they have lockdown defenders that can help, that can play one-on-one with Anthony Edwards and make and just give him a hard time. Now, you can only hold him back for so long. After a while, he's going to find cracks and seams and be able to score, which he ended up scoring 23 points. But I think that the Warriors were so good at containing him. And when you look at like the starting five, right? And yes, that does include Steph Curry. Combined, the starting five was a plus 57 in their plus minus.
Oh, yeah.
The Timberwolves, they were a negative 16, negative 18 starting five on their plus minus. That's bad. Mike Conley, 0 for 5 from shooting, 0 points, 0 for 3 from three-point land. Didn't even shoot a free throw. He was negative 12 on the court. Rudy Gobert was a negative 10, even though he had 9 points. But Rudy Gobert is not Steven Adams. Steven Adams is a more savvy, experienced veteran who knows what he can and cannot do. I mean, how often do we even see Steven Adams getting fouls? Like getting fouls called against him. Rarely ever. Because he was savvy. He's smart. He knows how to play the game.
By the way, I want that guy next year.
Oh, he would be amazing.
A free agent.
Rudy Gobert did have 11 rebounds, which we already assumed he was going to get. Anthony Edwards had 14 rebounds. The guy's such a ball. Dude,
he's an athlete.
As much as he's a big, loud talk and all that, I love Anthony Edwards' game. It's so smooth. He's so good.
He's gonna step up big time in game 2. We all know
I think so. The one guy that I'm the most worried about, it's not Julius Randle, it's not Jaden McDaniels, it's Naz Reid. If there's any player that is the Mark Portugal of the Golden State Warriors,
giant killer.
The Giant Killer, or like the Hairston brothers. Remember Jerry Hairston and the other Hairston? They used to always murder the Giants. Naz Reid is a Warriors
from the Clippers, man. He's killing.
He's another one, but Naz Reid always kills the Warriors. He had 19 points. He was 3 of 7 from 3-point land, 8 of 14 shooting. His offense is going to be a problem in this series. I actually think that Naz Reid is going to be their version of Steven Adams, not in the rebounds and defense, but just as a scorer. He's going to be that guy where we're like, God, we have no answer for that guy. And he's huge, too. That guy's a big guy. DiVincenzo, he had a bad game. He shot 3 of 11. He shot 3 of 11. He was 1 for 7 from threes. He only had 7 points. That guy could score more points than that. Not a huge score, but better than that, I think. And the other crazy thing was this. You have your starting 5, and the Timberwolves only played 4 guys off the bench. So they're playing 9 players.
They're not as deep as we are.
The Warriors played 7 guys off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
We're 12 players deep.
Even Guy Santos got some minutes last night.
Guy Santos, he played almost 4 minutes. But still, like his hustle, his play, he was in the mix in everything they did. Moses Moody, I don't know what's going on with him. He can't find his shot. He was hot coming into the playoffs, and lately he's been kind of trailing off. That's been hurting them because they were really going to rely on him to be that extra punch that they needed. But I think that Jonathan Kaminga, he made some really good plays. Draymond had that drive where he kicked it back across the middle to Kaminga, who dunked the ball. And then Jimmy Butler had a drive off to the left side where he kicked it back out to Kaminga, and Kaminga hit a massive 3 in the corner. Huge shot. And so I also noticed, too, that Draymond especially was talking to him on the court, coaching him, telling him what to do, telling him where to be at, because he understands that, hey, look, if we're going to win these games, we're going to need this guy. And
just to stop it again, if we're going to win a championship, because Warrior fans, like, I'm sorry, I want a championship. Like I know we all want to win this series, and but I'm looking at the Western Conference right now. I mean, Denver, they took game 1 in OKC, right? So if Denver tonight, they're playing game 2. If Denver somehow gets that game, I don't anticipate they're going to, but even if they don't, Denver has a chance to beat OKC in that series. They are tough right now. Well, the Warriors have shown in the past, we've had our struggles against Denver recently, but we've beat Denver in the playoffs before also. So, like, the more I look at this, and it's like, you know how Marty Lurie on KMBR, he always talks about the mosaic of baseball.
Yeah.
He talks about like the big picture. Well, the big picture is that the Warriors, it's starting to actually come into fruition that we may not have to even play OKC. like, can you imagine that? And like, so for me, I just feel like we have the depth. You talk about Moses Moody's not even really doing much. Well, Jonathan Kaminga, everybody was talking about how Jonathan Kaminga, he didn't play in the first round, and he's a restricted free agent. Jonathan Kaminga has displayed maturity. He has been, nothing but a great teammate. He, like you said yesterday, Draymond's talking to him, Jimmy's talking to him. The bottom line is he doesn't fit that well when we have Jimmy on the floor. Okay, everybody knows that. But he can come in, like you said, he can spell us some minutes, and he can you can put him on Anthony Edwards. And think about, as we move forward, you could put him on a guy like Jamal Murray. You could put him, you just think about the possibilities of what he can do as we move forward. You could put him on a guy like, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. I mean, it really opens up possibilities for how he can be used moving forward.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that Kaminga has to be a guy that's used similar to like a GP2, where you bring him in the game because you need more defense and you need to make sure that there's somebody guarding, one of their guards who's a perennial scoring threat. Right. So now when you look at guys like Anthony Edwards, who's more or less like a small forward based on his size, now you got a guy like Kaminga that can match him height and weight defensively. And that's a problem. I'm sorry. Anyone who plays basketball, if you're playing against a guy who's smaller than you, and I'm not a tall guy, I'm 5'7", but if I go against somebody who's smaller than me, you immediately feel the advantage. It's without a doubt. I've played against guys where I was like, dude, I can shoot over this guy. So you drive in, you stop, you just pull up, shoot, and the guy's not going to be able to stop you. You're like, I'm bigger than he is. But when you have to go against bigger defenders, it's very difficult to not only shoot over them, pass over them, but then you have to drive past them and hope that the defense doesn't collapse on you and close off your passing lane. So the Warriors defense played a huge part in this win. Obviously Braxton Key and Kevin Knox, those guys are never going to play unless it's a blowout. Trace Jackson Davis, God bless him. He's fallen out of the rotation, but I think he's still a really good player. But dude, Quinton Post, he played 6 minutes. He was a plus 14 on the court.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
They've got tremendous depth. It almost makes me think of strength in numbers again. Like
it does.
They've got these guys, and nobody pouts. I mean, I know people were saying Kaminga was pouting. I don't think he was.
I don't think he was.
And so everybody is pulling on the same rope. They all just want to win. When you hear them in the locker room, when you hear them talking, when you hear them interacting with each other, with the media, it's the common theme of they want to win. That's not what I'm hearing from the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not hearing that. From the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm seeing, a guy like Anthony Edwards, who he's still very young and immature. I'm seeing, Julius Randle, who's kind of was like shrugging it off last night. Like they didn't give the Warriors any credit last night.
No,
they gave them zero credit. Like the media was trying to kind of inch them to say something good about the Warriors, and they're just like, no, like we didn't play well. We didn't play well. 88 points, dude. Like that defense is doing something on the other end.
It is, and look, they did shoot terribly. But a lot of those shots were contested shots that they weren't able to hit because of the defense that was there. There were some wide open shots that they're going to get, and that happens in every game. And they weren't able to hit those because the defense was so high on all the other shots that when you're wide open, you're like, oh shit, get it up quick. Ask Steph Curry. He had wide open shots and against Houston, and he missed because he was being hurried and rushed and pressured. It just affects your whole timing. Now, when you look at the offensive rebounds, right, you would think, okay, well, again, Minnesota, they should be able to dominate offensive rebounds, right? The Warriors had 18 offensive rebounds to the Minnesota's 12. The Warriors had 51 total rebounds to Minnesota's 41. So they were out rebounding the Minnesota Timberwolves.
A team that's bigger, Dre.
They're bigger, but they're kind of not. I don't know. They're a weird team. You got absolutely nothing out of Mike Conley. I know he'll have games.
Last night, didn't
he? He just looked out of place. I mean, he'll have games where he'll start stroking threes and all that. But this is another team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, that lives and dies by the three. If they're not hitting threes, it's good night. And the Warriors, we weren't, glued to the 3-point line like they had been in the past. I felt like, the Warriors were driving to the hole. They were scoring in the perimeter. Last night, Golden State was 18 of 42, shooting 43% from 3-point land. While the Timberwolves were 5 of 29, only shot 17% from 3-point land. Now, is that going to happen again? I probably not. But it was a game they had to get. And now that they've won this game, it puts the Warriors in a much better position that the Timberwolves were not expecting. And to me, this also reminds me of, you remember Kansas City when the Giants played the Royals in the World Series. The Royals had just swept the Yankees. They were like, dude, who's going to stop us? And then the Giants showed up, and they punched him in the mouth and beat him in game one because they weren't expecting that. They were like, wait, what? And I think, again, the Timberwolves were not expecting Golden State to play with this much sense of urgency and to be this poised in this game coming off of that Game 7 win. I think they thought that they can kind of cruise their way into this game and then just sort of outplay them and overtake them as the game went on. That didn't happen, and it frustrated them. Now, we'll see how they come out in game 2. I fully expect Minnesota to come out in game 2. And look, I don't hope this. I'm just saying. I feel like Minnesota is probably going to blow them out because everyone's going to be hitting their shots. They're going to be on fire. They're going to have a sense of, because they don't want to go down 0-2 and then have to try to win 2 games on the road, even without Steph Curry. Fuck that. So the pivotal game.
There's one thing, Andre.
What?
Just one more thing. We got Jimmy Butler now.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler, what's the one thing that Jimmy Butler can do that we haven't had in many years? That guy can go in the post. That guy, he does. They do not need to make threes to win a game. And Jimmy Butler can be Batman. He can be the guy. You know, he has carried the Miami Heat to 2 NBA finals when that team was like they were not the best team in the Eastern Conference. So
no, their team consisted
they have
of
a chance to really change. The Warriors have a chance during these next 3 games, if that's what it is, that Curry's going to be out. They have a chance to kind of go revert back to a little bit of that ISO ball and slow the game down. So yeah, I think Minnesota's going to win game 2 probably, but I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, man. Like the other thing that they have to think about, that you have to think about, is that what's going to happen to Minnesota now because Curry's out. They're gonna relax a little bit because that is the natural tendency of an NBA player. Is I don't care what they say, they're going to relax a little bit because they know that Curry's out of the game. So it's almost, in a way, it could play to the Warriors' favor a little bit in game 2. It could.
The guy to me that needs to step up in game 2, and for that matter, game 3, is going to have to be Brandon Podziemski. If he can step up and score at least 20 points, 17 points, that's going to be a huge difference. It's actually going to open things up for Buddy Hield, for Jimmy Butler, because if Podziemski has a game like he did last night, 29 minutes, only 3 points, he was 1 of 7 shooting, 1 of 5 for 3-point land, that's going to be tough for them to overcome if he does that again. Now, he did have 8 rebounds, and he had 3 assists, but still, they need scoring from him more than 3 points. If he gets anywhere from 15 to 20 points, that's going to open up things for everybody else. Because you can't expect Draymond Green to score 18 points a game. That's not who he is. He was bombing 3. He hit 4 threes last night. He was also 4 for 10 from 3, so he missed quite a few of them. But still, he's not a perennial scorer.
Pods is going to be a lot more aggressive in game 2 because he's going to start the game. So, he's gonna have an opportunity to do what he's been doing for the second half of the year, which is kind of run the team. And if he's able to get off to a good start, if he's able to make a few shots early on and get comfortable, the Warriors may not see a lot of regression in this game, and it could be a close game down the stretch. And even if the Warriors lose a close game, like 103 to 100 or something, that would be a victory in itself, heading back to the Chase Center on Saturday.
Well, and also, too, I think what they have to do is what Steve Kerr was telling them on the sidelines. Rely on your defense. Focus on your defense, and your offense will find itself. And I think that's what they're going to do. Now, one of the things I love that Steve Kerr did was, in the second quarter especially, he implemented the zone defense, the same zone defense that they inherited from the Houston Rockets. And that gave Minnesota all kinds of problems. They did not know how to get around that zone defense. They did not know how to drive the ball, kick the ball. Their ball movement sort of stopped. And look, they only scored 11 points in the second quarter. You can't tell me that the 11 points they scored was only because they were rusty and having a bad shooting night. No, I think that was a factor, but it was the Warriors' defense that was giving them problems that they weren't ready for. And again, they just came off a series against the Los Angeles Lakers, and they were feeling like, dude, we just beat LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Who's going to stop us? Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler? And they did, without Steph Curry. So, if this series ends up being 2-2 or 3-1 Golden State, it's not going to be good. Now, the Timberwolves are not the Houston Rockets. They're not as physical. They're not as tough defensively. They don't have the long arms and the ability to disrupt passing lanes and the steals that they were getting every single game. There were times where just a regular pass to the wing would get knocked away or knocked away, then turn to a turnover. Like, fuck! They were just all over them. I don't see that from this team. Ime Udoka had them locked in. And so far, look, like I said, it's a bad game for Minnesota, but I didn't see any of that. Even when they went on their run, when they got it down to, I believe it was like 7 or 6, you just felt like it wasn't going to last. And here's the thing is that when you take out Anthony Edwards as a primary scoring threat, where do you go? You don't have another option. You have Naz Reid who can hit the 3. You have Julius Randle, who's got a weird game. But he was 10 out of 10 from the line, so that helped him out. He had 18 points, and 10 of those points were from the free throw line.
Julius Randle's a good player. But,
he's a good player.
But you're right. They do not have the same kinds of options that the Houston Rockets presented. I don't think the Houston Rockets are done when it comes to their kind of journey. Like, I mean, dude, Amen Thompson. Oh, my God.
If that guy learns how to shoot threes, it's over.
What a series. That one move where he went behind.
Yeah, he went behind his back, and then he did the scoop layup on the other side of the rim. That was incredible. Drew is a little frozen up right now. He was so enamored by Amen Thompson's move that it just locked him up. So as Drew recalibrates, we're going to keep going. But yeah, no, this is not the same team as the Houston Rockets. I think the Warriors have a definite advantage because of the fact that they played the Rockets in the previous round. You go from the Rockets to the Wolves, it's a huge difference in terms of their defensive prowess and their intensity. So I think the Warriors definitely have an advantage. If we had Steph Curry last night, I think we win by almost 20.
I do too. I think that the Timberwolves they're not out of the woods yet in this game too.
No,
like they could we could potentially, Andre, like be coming back home 2-0 and like we could be underdogs in game 3.
Oh, we will be without Steph Curry.
Like that is a possibility, and I just think it's really interesting. But man, am I happy that Steve Kerr? Just going back to my first point, that Steve Kerr has prepared our bench for this moment. And then think about how lucky, and we wouldn't be here without him, but how lucky we are to have Jimmy Butler. It's just,
absolutely. Without Jimmy Butler, we wouldn't even be here.
No, dude. I mean, Jimmy Butler, we wouldn't have even made it out of the play-in.
No, they would have been eliminated.
So I'm excited. If you were going to ask me my prediction on this series, I said Warriors in 6 to start. I think it's going to be Warriors in 6.
I think if we had Steph Curry, there's a chance that it could be Warriors in 5, but I would say Warriors in 6. Losing Steph Curry is going to be a major blow. I have to see. To me, it's not just game 2. It's how do they perform in game 3 without him. That's going to dictate how big of a game 4 is going to be and how much they're going to be like, hey, Steph, how you feeling? You know what I mean? Like, hey, are you sure you can't come back? Because, how they play in game 3 is going to dictate a lot. You know, if they can't, they have to split, at the very least, they have to split the games in Minnesota and in San Francisco. You got to get one of those 4 games, or 2 of those 4 games. And so far they got 1. You can't fall down 3-1 to Minnesota. If you do, I think it's over.
If they're able to at least be split 2-2 going into game 5, that's when they have the conversation with Rick Celebrini and the staff if they're going to play Curry in game 5, which is next Wednesday, Andre, a week from today. Okay. So that's May 14th. But think about it this way. If they are up 3-1, right, going into game 5, you don't have to play Steph Curry. And then if you look at the calendar, they're not playing again until the following Sunday, the 18th. Okay, because they do get 3 days off between game 5 and game 6. This series has kind of a quirky schedule. It's all every other day until after game 5. So my preference would be go up 3-1. Which means all they got to do is win 2 out of the next 3. Hey, that's not impossible. You know, if they can win the home games, which they've showed they can do even without Curry, you know, and they won a game. And remember, they won a game without Jimmy Butler in the first round, right? They won.
Yeah, they beat Houston without Jimmy Butler.
At home without Jimmy Butler. So if they can be up 3-1 going into game 5 on the 14th next Wednesday, I don't play Steph Curry in that game. And then they probably get blown out in game 5 in Minnesota. And then you have a chance to close out on a Sunday in San Francisco when Steph has more rest. But we don't know anything right now. We're all speculating. What we do know right now is that it's a grade 1 hamstring strain and that he's going to miss at least a week. So he is not going to play. If anybody that thinks he's going to play in game 3 or 4, he's not going to play in game 3 or game 4. He's not going to play again until earliest next Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to play if you're down 3-1. Then it's like, okay, can you play?
He's going to play if we're down 3-1, and he'll probably play if we're 2-2.
I think so. I think the best case scenario coming out of these next 3 games is that the Warriors are 2-2 with the Wolves. Best case scenario, obviously, it's 3-1, but I think the more logical scenario is that we're 2-2 because all you have to do is win 1 out of the next 3 games. And I think they can do that, but it's going to take contributions from guys like Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody. Those guys, more pressure is going to be put on them to score because they got to find that third outlet of scoring. I mean, you have Butler, you have Green who can contribute, Buddy Hield. But like I said, it would not surprise me if in game 2 the plan is press Buddy Hield, force him off the line, and make him drive the ball and make him have to pass. Because we've seen him with his handles, he'll lose control of his dribble. He'll throw an errant pass. Like, that's not really his game. He's a pure spot shooter. And so they're going to try and get him off his game immediately. And if they do that, it's going to become Jimmy Butler, save us. And he's extremely good, but when he has to do it the whole game, I'm sorry, that's going to be hard to do. Game 3 is going to be a pivotal game in this series because if we come back home and we still can't figure it out, then a lot of question marks are going to be thrown up there. But going into Game 2, I think the Warriors can get this win, but I think Minnesota is going to win this game in Game 2, and we go back to San Francisco tied 1-1. And that's my prediction for the next 2 games.
I'm predicting a close game tomorrow night. I do think the Warriors are going to hang in there. And I think they'll have a chance. I think Minnesota will probably prevail in this game. They're 10.5-point favorites, 10.5-point favorites, or in Vegas, which is that's a lot. So, but they were 6.5-point favorites going into Game 1, and the Warriors won, by 11 points. So, anything's possible with this team.
Well, and if you look at, what the Warriors did too, a lot of those games against Houston, they were shutting down Steph Curry and his ability to score. And what did he do? He became a distributor. And I think you can kind of get that kind of ability out of a guy like a Pat Spencer, who can distribute the ball and keep things moving. He's really good at keeping the pace of the game and keeping and attacking the hoop. Which he does a really good job at. But we'll see how they do moving into Game 2, which will be tomorrow over in Minnesota. I don't know what time it's at. Probably the same time.
5:30. It's an hour
5:30.
early.
Yeah. I like that because it's early. Because I work early in the morning, so I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. It's an early game. Yeah, it's great.
I think it's going to be a very interesting game. But I do think the Warriors are going to hang in there. So for those of you that think that it's just going to be a blowout, I don't think so.
Taryn writes, hamstring injuries are so tricky. Game 5 is next Wednesday, so that might be the locked-in Steph Curry. I absolutely think so. And hopefully it's a 2-2 series, not a 3-1 series. Hopefully it's a 3-1 Warriors series. That'd be great.
Hey, I heard somebody talking about a sweep today on the morning.
No, that's no. Well, you never know. You never know. But still, I think they're too good to get swept. Adam Karnick writes, if the Warriors get through and win a title, does Steph Curry retire? No.
Hell no, dude.
No way.
Listen, if Steph Curry wins a title, Adam, yes, he will be in the GOAT conversation because he'll have 5 titles in the LeBron era. But there is no way this man is retiring. He has got so much more to give. He's going to go until he's at least 40. I'm saying at least 3 more years. Yeah,
absolutely. 3 more years. 40, I think, is where he's going to start to wrap things up. But we'll see what they do. Moving into Game 2. Drew, thank you so much for coming on here, man. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more of this content, then check out some of these recommended videos right here on your screen. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by going to my website, which is nicotina.net, and there are memberships available under Dre Area Sports.